pork neck bones are one of the last couple of soul food meats that haven't become overly expensive in the last generation or so. I got 6 pounds of pork neck bones for just over $12, so about $2 a pound. I'm going to wash them like I do all of my soul food meats with cool water and white vinegar. I take this time of washing meats to inspect each piece. There are different nooks and crannies on here you want to stick your finger in to get that gelatinous fat or membranes, pieces of things that we don't want to cook with and we don't want to eat. So we're going to inspect each piece and wash them carefully. After washing our meat, we're going to clean and sanitize our sinks because that's what we do to prevent contamination. We wash our sinks, our sink fixtures, our hands, our countertops. Now, each piece of meat is very meaty, so for $2 a pound, this is a great option. And although this is pork, when they cook up, they have the texture of beef to me. Very similar to oxtails, but for just a fraction of the price. So I'm going in with a knife and I'm cutting off the pieces that I don't want. I will discard them. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever cooked pork neck bones and how you feel it compares to beef, like beef oxtails. Beef neck bones are very similar to oxtails, but beef neck bones have a lot more bone than meat. So what you can see here, these pork neck bones do have quite a bit of meat on them to start. So I'm putting them in a pot of water, just enough water to cover over them to parboil for 10 or 15 minutes. And look at the debris that floated to the top. So what I'm going to do is put on the cold water in my sink, let that hot liquid cool down just a little bit, and then I'm going to drain the parboiled neck bones and rinse them off. So we're getting some of the gunk and cloudiness because we're going to make a soup and we want it to be very clear and clean. So you'll notice that the meat has started to cook in the 10 or 15 minutes, and that's fine. We're just draining it in our sink with cold water. While that is sitting to the side, I'm going to wash and cut up a bell pepper and an onion. We are going to add vegetables to this neck bone stew. Seasonings I'm using include oxtail seasoning, onion powder, garlic powder. I'm going to use this pack of brown gravy. It is lower in sodium, only 230 milligrams, and I'll show you the other few seasonings that I do add as well. So I'm starting off with my oxtail seasoning, very delicious, and then my onion powder, garlic powder. This is 1/2 of the neck bones. I'm just seasoning it in layers so that I can make sure each piece has the seasoning rubbed in carefully. I'm adding black pepper and dried celery flakes. And once I rub that in the first layer of meat, then I add the second layer of meat, my remaining amount, and I'm adding the same seasonings. You'll notice I haven't added salt. I will salt at the end if I feel like it needs more. There is some in the oxtail seasoning. So now I just have some avocado oil in a big pot, and I'm going to saute my bell peppers and onions just until they become translucent for a couple of minutes. And then I'm adding in my pork neck bones. I don't sear my beef before I cook it, so I'm not doing that with the pork neck bones either. I have some lower sodium broth. You can see this is 140 mg's per serving, and you could pause the previous clip to see the actual ingredients of this organic chicken stock. I'm going to also add some water because you notice that 1 carton, 32 ounces of chicken stock didn't cover most of my neck bones. So I'm just going to add 2 cups of water. You could add another carton of stock if you wanted to, but the flavor is going to be delicious. We're going to boil this for 15 minutes and then let it simmer for just about 2 hours. By the 2-hour mark, you should start to notice meat falling off the bone. The exact amount of time it will take yours to cook will depend on how hot your stove is, how much time you spend simmering versus boiling, and how much meat you use to start off with. But keep an eye on it. In about 2 hours, you should notice meat falling off the bone, and I'm going to add a bag of frozen vegetables. This has peas, carrots, and corn. You can leave this out or add it if you want the pop of color and extra flavor. To me, it's going to make it more hearty, kind of a one-pot meal. So I'm going to let these vegetables cook in and simmer for a good 20 or so minutes. I'm going to let this continue to cook as I make up my delicious rice. So just give it a stir and let your vegetables and meat cook together and let that flavor marry, and it will be absolutely amazing. Now, the broth is still thin in this, so what I'm going to do is add the packet of brown gravy. Just 1 packet. 1 packet is 4 servings, so it's not going to make gravy in the soup because we have more than 4 servings, but it will add nice color, nice flavor, and a little bit of sodium, 230 mg's. Of course, this is optional. If you're anti-brown gravy seasoning mix, you don't have to use it. You could use other things, but I have a Pyrex mixing glass, and I'm just going to take a cup of my soup broth and a few vegetables mixed in and put it to the side so it can cool down, because the seasoning packet, the gravy packet, did say to use cold water. And I always use cold water when I'm making like a cornstarch slurry as well. So I'm just going to follow those instructions for this as well. So just mix in your brown gravy, give it a stir with the whisk for just a couple of moments so it becomes fully incorporated. You can see that nice deep rich color forming, and we're just going to pour this into our soup. Some people might use browning seasoning instead of this. Some Worcestershire sauce would be good, or cornstarch slurry like I mentioned before, to help thicken it just a little bit. If you want it even thicker, you could use 2 packs of gravy mix. Now, I'm cooking some parboiled rice. This is a 5-pound bag that I got buy one get one free. So what I'm not going to cook today, I'm going to put in a 1/2-gallon mason jar to help store it. And I'm going to add a couple of bay leaves to keep critters from trying to get in it. To season my rice today, I'm going to add some garlic powder, onion powder, and salt. I'm adding ghee or clarified butter to my nonstick pan for my aroma rice cooker. It's not nonstick anymore. I've had it so long. I'll probably get rid of it soon and start making rice in my Instant Pot instead. But I add butter for flavor. I use 1 part rice, 2 parts water. It doesn't matter that this is a dry measuring cup. It's just the proportions of 1 cup to 2 cups of liquid. I put in some sea salt. I put in the onion powder, and I'm going to put in a little garlic powder, just a couple of pinches of each for some flavor, and then I'm going to give that a stir. Just press the power button and then set it to white rice. So now I'm storing the remaining part of this open bag of rice in 1/2-gallon mason-sized jars. I have 30 pounds of rice I need to store actually. I'm putting in a couple of bay leaves into each jar. That should help deter any pests or ants that may be attracted whenever you store food for a long time. That is a concern. This is what my neck bone soup looks like after it has been cooking for a total of about 3 hours. You can see it's very, very tender, but you can cook it to the level of doneness you like as long as the meat is fully cooked. Now it's been 20 or so minutes. My rice has finished cooking, and look at each of the pieces. They're individualized. They're not clumped together, which is how I like my rice. That's why I love buying parboiled rice. I used to buy it from Sam's in a big 25-pound box. So now I am putting my neck bones in my bowl, and that neck bone, it kind of looks like an oxtail sort of, and the flavor and the texture is definitely like beef. So if you like beef, I think you would enjoy this dish if you do also eat pork. I garnish with some chives because it's a yummy flavor and a beautiful color, and look at that. The rice with the stock, this broth, is so delicious. Definitely great for a cold and rainy day like we've been having. And it's very economical to feed a family with this recipe as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel.